Portuguese literature is distinguished by a wealth and variety of lyric poetry, which has characterized it from the beginning of its language, after the Roman occupation. By its wealth of historical writing documenting Portugal's rulers, conquests, and expansions.
By the moral and heroical innocence drama of Gil Vicente.
By Os Lusíadas, the 16th century national epic of Luís Camões.
By the 19th century realistic novels of José Maria Dias de Queiroz.
By Fernando Pessoa's poetry and prose of the 20th century.
By a substantial number of women writers.
And by a resurgence in poetry and the novel in the 1970s, which culminated in José Saramago's winning the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1998.
Luís Vaz de Camões, a poet from the 16th century, is considered Portugal's and the Portuguese language's greatest poet. His mastery of verse has been compared to that of Shakespeare, Homer, Virgil, and Dante.
He wrote a considerable amount of lyrical poetry and drama, but is best remembered for his epic work, Os Lusíadas, the Lusíadas. The influence of his masterpiece, Os Lusíadas, is so profound that Portuguese is sometimes called the language of Camões.
A poem by Luís Vaz de Camões. Amor é um fogo que arde sem se ver. É ferida que dói e não se sente. É um contentamento descontente. É dor que desatina sem doer. Love is a fire that burns unseen, a wood that aches yet isn't felt, and always contentment, a pain that rages without hurting. É um não querer mais que bem querer, é um andar solitário entre a gente, é nunca contentar-se de contente, é um cuidar que ganha em se perder. A longing for nothing but too long, a loneliness in the midst of people, a never feeling pleased when pleased, a passion that gains when lost in thought.
É querer estar preso por vontade, é servir a quem vence, o vencedor, é ter com quem nos mata, lealdade.
It's being enslaved of your own free will. It's counting your defeat a victory. It's staying loyal to your killer. Mas como causar pode ser favor, nos corações humanos amizade, se do contrário si é o mesmo amor.
But if it's so self-contradictory, how can love, when love chooses, bring human hearts into sympathy?
José Maria Dias de Queiroz is generally considered to have been the greatest Portuguese writer in the realist style, ranked alongside Dickens, Balzac, and Tolstoy. He was a novelist committed to social reform who introduced naturalism and realism in Portuguese literature. He is often considered to be the greatest Portuguese novelist.
His first novel, The Sin of Father Amaro, describes the destructive effects of celibacy on a priest of weak character and dangers of fanaticism in a provincial Portuguese town.
A biting satire on the romantic ideal of passion and its tragic consequence appears in his next novel, Casino Basílio.
Caustic satire characterizes the novel that is generally considered as a Queiroz masterpiece. The Maias, a tailored depiction of upper middle class and aristocratic Portuguese society.
His last novels are sentimental, unlike his earlier work. The City and the Mountains extols the beauty of the Portuguese countryside and the joys of rural life. Here is a piece from Ramirez.
After briefly smoking a cigar, Videirinha took up his guitar again. On the far side of the garden, fragments of whitewashed wall, the occasional stress of empty road, the water in the great fountain, all shone in the moonlight silvering the hills, and the stillness of the trees, and of that luminous night seeped into the soul like a soothing caress.
Tito and Gonçalo were enjoying the famous Muscatel brandy, one of the tower's most precious antiquities, and listening silent and rapt to Videirinha, who had withdrawn to the shadows at the back of the balcony. Never had he played more tenderly, more sweetly. Even the fields, the vaulted sky, and the moon above the hills were listening intently to the mournful fado. Below, in the darkness, they could hear Rosa clearing her throat, the servant's muffled footsteps, a girl's occasional suppressed laughter, a hunting dog flapping its ears, and all those sounds were like the presence of people subtly drawn to that lovely song.
Fernando Pessoa was a Portuguese poet who adopted heteronyms. He invented literary personas with imaginary lives and lifestyles, all with different personalities and physical attributes.
Alberto Caeiro, a rural and educated poet of great ideas who wrote in free verse. Ricardo Reis, a physician who composed the formal odes influenced by Horace. And Álvaro de Campos, an adventurous London-based naval engineer influenced by poet Walt Whitman and the Italian futurist.
Pessoa published under his own name as well, but considered that work the product of an ortonym, another literary persona.
O poeta é fingidor, finge tão completamente que chega a fingir que é a dor que deveras sente.
The poet is a man who feigns and feigns so thoroughly. At last he manages to feign as pain, the pain he really feels. E os que leem o que escreve, na dor lida sentem bem. Não as duas que ele teve, mas só aqueles não têm.
Those who read his cries, feeling the paper tears, not two aches that are his, but one that is not theirs. E assim nas calhas de roda, gira a entreter a razão, esse comboio de corda que se chama coração.
To beguile and entertain the reason, does he start? Who burn these rails, the clockwork train that's also called the heart.
Poet and storyteller Sofia de Melbreiner Anderson is one of Portugal's best loved writers. Her poems express her deep connection with the natural world, her main subjects being childhood and youth, nature, and, above all, the sea.
Retrato de uma princesa desconhecida, Sofia de Melbreiner Anderson. Para que ela tivesse um pescoço tão fino, para que os seus pulsos tivessem um carrar de caula, para que os seus olhos fossem tão frontais e limpos, para que a sua espinha fosse tão direita e ela usasse a cabeça tão erguida, com uma tão simples claridade sobre a testa, foram necessárias sucessivas gerações de escravos, de corpo dobrado e grossas mãos pacientes, servindo sucessivas gerações de príncipes, ainda um pouco toscos e grosseiros, ávidos, cruéis e fraudulentos. Foi um imenso desperdiçar de gente, para que ela fosse aquela perfeição, solitária, exilada, sem destino.
Portrait of an Unknown Princess by Sofia de Melbreiner Anderson. For her to have such a slender neck, for her wrists to bend like flower stems, for her eyes to be so clear and direct, her back so straight, her head so high, with such a natural glow on her forehead. It took successive generations of slaves, with stopping bodies and patient rough hands, serving successive generations of princes, still a bit coarse, still a bit crude, cruel, greedy, and conniving. It took the enormous squandering of life for her to be that lonely, exiled, aimless perfection.
José
José Saramago was a Portuguese writer, journalist and playwright. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1998. He died in 2010.
Saramago novels are stylistically unique in a few ways. In fact, the premise of his novels are often fantastic. In the stone rafted, for example, the Iberian Peninsula breaks off from the rest of Europe. In the year of the death of Ricardo Reis, poet Fernando Pessoa's pseudonym outlives him by a year. In blindness, a nameless city is stricken by a plague of blindness. Saramago also tends to write extremely long sentences without embedded dialogue. He also resists the use of proper nouns, meaning that the majority of his characters do not have names.
A quem leva a vida inteira a ler sem nunca ter conseguido ir mais além da leitura. Ficam pegados à página. Não percebem que as palavras são apenas pedras postas a atravessar a corrente de um rio. Se estão ali, é para que possamos chegar à outra margem. A outra margem é que importa. A não ser que estes tais rios não tenham duas margens, mas muitas, que cada pessoa que lê seja ela a sua própria margem, e que seja a sua, e apenas sua, a margem a que terá de chegar.
Some people spend their entire lives reading but never get beyond reading the words on the page. They don't understand that the words are merely stepping stones placed across a fast-flowing river, and the reason they are there is so that we can reach the farther shore. It's the other side that matters.
Unless those rivers don't just have two shores, but many. Unless which reader is on shore, and that shore is the only shore often reaching.